under George Bush. It was not as advertised. What the couples were supposed to get between $1,200 and $1,500, the individuals $600. They didn't quite get that. But the thing behind that was that you had to be up to snuff and you had to show income tax returns. In other words, their records had to be current. And I'm assuming here, without probably running into a danger zone of being stupid, but this is a carefully crafted and coordinated project of which many people are going to glean information, update records, and everything else. That would be my knee-jerk reaction to this. And,
Mr. Chapman?
Go ahead, Bob.
First of all, it's J.P. Morgan Chase. It's not Citibank.
That's right.
And second of all, I didn't know they were using debit cards. I do now. Thirdly, it's more largesse for the largest shareholder in the Federal Reserve, and it's to make sure that hopefully that Morgan doesn't need any help. The whole thing is so incestuous, so disgusting, so diseased, and so corrupt. It is beyond the imagination of any decent human mind. These people are totally diabolical, and everything they do is calculated to enrich themselves.
Yeah.
They have to be the slimiest creatures on earth, not only the bankers, but Wall Street and all of those retards we have in Washington. And they're going to grab everything they can. And as I said earlier, there is no intention of saving this economy. It's just a matter of timing when they want to pull the plug. And that's what they're going to do. They're just dancing us around right now.
And one other thing, Mike, that you want to take note of, being a debit type of card, whatever, I'm sure you're going to have to be issued a card that is going to work with J.P. Morgan. I don't think you can use your Bank of America card or whatever the case may be. So there is going to be kickbacks to this as well. Everybody's going to make money throughout this whole process.
Well, absolutely. And if you use another ATM, of course, there's a charge there.
Absolutely.
$3.
Absolutely.
And another thing, I do find it really strange that, for one, that money is taxed at all, and that, for two, they give you the opportunity to fail by taking all the money and then owing the taxes on it.
Well, and here's another one, Mark. Here's the big question I have. Since the American taxpayer being magnanimous enough to go in and bail out these bankers, the private corporations that should be allowed to fail for a myriad of reasons, why is it then that they cannot give the consumer out here a break because they're working now with our future tax money? Do you think that they'd be nice enough to pare down the interest that is going to be riding on this money, the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars? We are not going to get a break on the usury fees.
No, not at all. And one final question that y'all haven't gotten into, but I'm sure is on the agenda. Why, and opinions on, and then I'll hang up after this, and I appreciate the time. Why did gold and silver take a big hit today? Thank you very, very much, and I appreciate everything. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, I think people have to understand on this big hit on gold and silver yesterday and today, it's normal. Doesn't anybody get it? Everybody thinks it's going to go up every day. Markets go up and down. Now, where is it going to go? It'll probably get down to 952, 960, somewhere down in there. It'll turn around and go right back up again. I mean, you've got all these chartists and wavists and cyclists and other mentally disturbed people who are telling you it's going to go down because they want to make a name for themselves. And they've been wrong every single time. Where is Tim Wood? His publication went out of business. Gary North, they both, a year ago, said we're going to see 500 gold very shortly. Hasn't happened.
I was surprised
with the dollar. And then they had Mike
Bob.
Balser. Of course, he had Balser on. Oh, it's going to 500 tomorrow, last February.
Robbie, where's
All three of them, paragons.
Yeah, Robbie, where's your shoehorn? Get it out quick.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, you wanted to say something. Get in.
No. I was just surprised, Bob. The dollar was fairly anemic today in light of gold. I mean, the U.S. dollar index was 54 points. You would have expected the opposite.
Well, you're correct. but if you've been reading the forecast, which I know you have, gold has decoupled from everything. The dollar, other currencies, the debt problem. It has, in spite of the fact that in Europe there's very little inflation, probably 3%. In the United States, it's around 9 or 10%. There's a flight to quality already. The only real currency in the world. I saw an article this morning by Icono that said that because gold hasn't been a currency or back to currency since 1971, it's no longer a currency or viable in that manner, which is absolutely ridiculous. He forgot the other 6,000 years that gold has been really the only world's currency that's ever lasted.
Well, let me quote Bob Chapman here on what you're just saying. I'm reading this directly out of your newsletter, Bob. You said the tenor of the gold market, which addresses what you the question was about the, why the fluctuations in the prices. The tenor of the gold market has changed. Gold has decoupled from the dollar, and at the moment is not driven by fear of inflation or hyperinflation, but by flight to quality. What else can be expected when the media reports the governments are deliberately creating inflation to offset deflation? Jewelry demand that normally makes up 80% of the gold demand has dropped, and investment demand is what is now driving the buying. Spider Gold Trust, the ETF gold, has added 200 tons of gold over the past 6 weeks and 62,000 ounces last week alone. We are very skeptical regarding gold's gold purchases due to the tight market with no reports of their purchases. They may be using derivatives illegally, and if they are and the derivatives fall, the owners of the fund will be left with little of their investment. The U.S. dollar, as you point out, Bob, is no longer the premier safe haven. Gold is. Gold is finally being recognized as wealth insurance. It is also decoupled from the influence of oil and other commodities. Even Russia, in the face of a terrible oil pricing over there, and one of devaluation after another, has purchased 90 tons of gold over the past 15 months. Banks are being nationalized worldwide, and people are becoming frightened, as well they should be. The world is facing a major depression, and the banks are broke and being nationalized, and this is only the beginning. Regardless, Bob, of what you said, Ben Bernanke is de-emphasizing nationalization of banks, and that's exactly what they're doing. Any questions?
They're privatizing them, actually.
Yeah.
And I must say that was one of John Stadmiller's ideas, and because they're consolidating the banking system under the Fed, which is a private organization. But anyway, you read very eloquently from my publication, and I thank you. And that was my answer, but I gave you the short version.
Well, I gave the more lengthy because I like the way you write. Obviously, it's what you think, and then you put it down on paper. Let's go to Mark.
Exactly.
Mark in Texas. Hello, Mark.
It's not only privatization, it's modernization. We even heard that today when Sir Ben was on the taking the questions from the panel. It's modernization. Yeah. Have you ever seen a weaker group of folks that were in charge from the Senate level of our government to ask a flippant question?
The questions are very, very carefully put across to Mr. Bernanke because he's already answered their concerns, which are major concerns. What in the hell are you people doing? Excuse me, I told some affiliates I would not use hell, damn, or any other. Okay. My apologies.
We'll forgive you.
Okay. But, yeah, you're right. Because the hard questions have already been asked. They've been re-asked of Mr. Bernanke, and there are no answers coming. He is not going to tell the senators, which let this nightmare loose, they're not going to tell them what they're doing with the money.
At least when we heard from some of the folks in Congress, at the House, at least they had some substance to them, whether it be the Ron Pauls or you name them.
Yeah. Well, that comes up tomorrow.
Hopefully tomorrow will be somewhat better than the day.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for the senators.
Ron Paul gets his shot tomorrow.
I was waiting for the senators to come out and say, listen, it's time. as a government, we issue a margin call to the investment bankers.
Well, here's another one for you. Shelby, that's on that banking committee, which you've seen his, I think he's out of Alabama. He just came out just recently on the issue of Barack Obama, whether he's qualified to be president. And this came on the tail of a story that there was a lieutenant in Iraq that is refusing to recognize Barack Obama as being the president or, in their realm of influence, the commander-in-chief. And Mr. Shelby had some words about that and said, well, look, I'm not even sure that this guy's qualified to be president. Now, I'm not sure if Mr. Shelby qualifies as being senator, but that's another argument.